What if I told you that the Industrial Revolution, often hailed as humanity's greatest leap forward, also unleashed problems we are still struggling to solve today? Could this monumental shift in human history have been a double-edged sword, a force for unprecedented progress, but also an origin of exploitation, inequality, and environmental decay? Let's explore not just what happened, but how it fundamentally transformed every aspect of life, and continues to do so even today. Before the Industrial Revolution, life was governed by the rhythm of nature. Most people lived in rural areas, working the land as subsistence farmers. Artisans crafted goods by hand, and economies were small, local, and slow to adapt. Transportation was limited to horse-drawn carriages or wooden ships, and communication relied on letters delivered over weeks or months. But beneath the apparent stability of this world lay growing pressures. Population growth across Europe in the 18th century increased the demand for food, goods, and housing. Limited agricultural methods couldn't keep up. Frequent famines, rural poverty, and slow trade networks created bottlenecks that stifled progress. Britain, with its rich coal and iron reserves, access to colonial resources, and culture of innovation, was poised to lead the charge. Enlightenment ideals and scientific experimentation created fertile ground for invention. The Industrial Revolution wasn't just a response to economic challenges. It was a moment of human ingenuity, seizing an opportunity for radical change. The Industrial Revolution was driven by a cascade of innovations that forever altered production, transportation, and society. The invention of the steam engine by James Watt was the defining breakthrough. This new power source replaced human and animal labor with machines, making it possible to build factories that operated on an unprecedented scale. Factories transformed industries like textiles, which were previously reliant on manual labor. The spinning jenny, the power loom, and Arkwright's water frame revolutionized cloth production, reducing costs and making goods more affordable. Cities like Manchester became epicenters of industry, drawing rural workers in search of opportunity. Transportation also evolved dramatically. The steam locomotive and railroads enabled the rapid movement of goods, raw materials, and people. The advent of steamships meant global trade networks expanded, reducing the cost and time of moving goods across oceans. For the first time, the world was interconnected in ways that had seemed impossible just decades earlier. The Industrial Revolution's impacts were far-reaching, touching every corner of society. Economically, it ushered in a new age of productivity and trade. Mass production made goods cheaper and more accessible, giving rise to a consumer culture that continues today. Capitalism flourished as entrepreneurs and industrialists amassed vast wealth, while banks and stock markets became integral to the new economy. Socially, the revolution shattered old ways of life. Urbanization accelerated as millions moved from villages to cities in search of work. Entire family structures changed as people adapted to the demands of industrial labor. A rigid class system emerged with industrialists and factory owners at the top and a struggling working class at the bottom. Culturally, the Industrial Revolution reshaped how people saw the world. For some, it was a time of optimism and progress, proof that human ingenuity could conquer nature and create prosperity. For others, it highlighted the harsh inequalities of modern life. The Romantic movement emerged as a reaction against industrialization, mourning the loss of nature and traditional values. While the Industrial Revolution created unprecedented wealth, it also brought immense suffering. The working class bore the brunt of this transformation. Factories were harsh environments, with workers enduring long hours, low pay, and unsafe conditions. Child labor was rampant, with children working in mines and mills under hazardous conditions. The rapid growth of cities led to overcrowding and unsanitary living conditions. Slums became breeding grounds for disease, and life expectancy for the urban poor plummeted. Social unrest grew as workers began to protest the exploitation and inequalities of the industrial system. Strikes and labor movements arose, demanding better conditions and wages. Environmental degradation was another major consequence. The Industrial Revolution marked the beginning of humanity's large-scale exploitation of fossil fuels, leading to air and water pollution. Coal-powered factories spewed smoke into the skies, and rivers became dumping grounds for industrial waste. The environmental toll of these practices would take centuries to fully comprehend. The effects of the Industrial Revolution were not confined to Britain or even Europe. Its influence spread across the globe, shaping colonies and transforming economies worldwide. Colonial powers used industrial technologies to extract resources more efficiently, often at great cost to local populations. The introduction of industrial goods disrupted traditional economies, leading to the decline of local crafts and industries in places like India and China. The rise of industrial capitalism also deepened economic inequalities between industrialized nations and their colonies, a legacy that continues to shape global relations today. Some historians and theorists argue that the Industrial Revolution may not have been as organic as it seems. Conspiracy theories suggest that elites deliberately engineered aspects of industrialization to consolidate power. For instance, some point to the role of influential banking families in financing industrial ventures, claiming they used their wealth to shape economic systems in their favor. Others speculate about the suppression of alternative energy sources during the early industrial era. Did powerful coal and oil interests stifle innovations in sustainable energy to maintain control over industrial power sources? While these theories remain speculative, they hint at the complexities and power struggles behind industrialization. The dark impacts of industrialization eventually led to reform. Labor movements fought for workers' rights, resulting in laws that limited child labor, regulated working hours, and improved factory safety. Public health initiatives in cities brought cleaner water and better sanitation, improving life expectancy for urban populations. Education also expanded during this period. As societies recognized the need for a skilled workforce, public schools became widespread, offering opportunities for upward mobility. These reforms didn't erase the suffering caused by industrialization, but they marked a shift towards addressing its inequalities. The Industrial Revolution's impacts are everywhere, from the factories that produce our goods to the urban landscapes we inhabit. It created the modern capitalist system, reshaped global trade, and launched humanity into an age of technological innovation. Yet, its darker legacies, environmental degradation, social inequality, and exploitative practices, remain with us. Climate change, for example, can trace its roots back to the fossil fuels burned during the Industrial Revolution. The inequalities between industrialized nations and the developing world are echoes of this era's global disruptions. As we face new revolutions, digital, green, and beyond, the lessons of the Industrial Revolution are more relevant than ever. Can we learn from the past and ensure that progress benefits everyone, without repeating the mistakes of unchecked exploitation and inequality? The Industrial Revolution was more than a turning point. It was a Pandora's box. What we do with the challenges it unleashed will define our future.